Having enough saved for retirement, education and healthcare are essential for a secure future. Yet in the United States, millions of individuals are still underprepared for some of the biggest changes in their lives. Vestwell is a savings platform founded in New York City whose mission is to close the savings gap and increase financial well-being. My name is Olivia Kinghorst and I'm here in Davos to speak with Aaron Schumm, founder and CEO of Vestwell. Welcome to Davos, Aaron, the home of the World Economic Forum. Let's dive right in. Explain to us what Vestwell is and the main problem you're trying to tackle here.
When we started Vestwell, it was founded in 2016, really with the mission on trying to solve access to savings and close that gap. And what Vestwell is the engine powering savings, specifically today in the US, but looking to expand globally, and focused on aspects of life such as retirement, healthcare savings, and educational savings.
And I think we need some context here. What exactly is the savings crisis in the United States and what is contributing this gap?
Sure, so in the US, and I think largely globally, right, we as individuals behaviorally don't save enough, right? We know we need to, or it's very complex to get engaged in savings. And what happens is, the cost of aspects of life such as buying a TV, right, or a computer have come down. But the critical aspects of saving for retirement and your educational needs and healthcare needs, those have exponentially risen. But people are not putting enough money aside for those aspects of life. In the US today, shockingly, more than 60% of individuals have less than $1,000 saved. So if there's an emergency and you're like, hey, I need to go pay whatever bill comes up, they don't have the funds to do so. So what we're trying to do is create access to do that and meet people where they are and help them get engaged in savings, not feel that they don't have the wherewithal to do so.
It seems like common sense. It seems quite straightforward that we should be saving up for these big milestones, for these emergencies and moments in life. Why is that not happening? What is the roadblock for people and getting them to save?
Sure, so largely the roadblock has been put on the industry as a whole, right? And the technologies by which they've been run to date are still 30 or 40 years old. So you think about the advancements of technology, how it looked 30 years ago versus today, it's night and day. And what happens is those systems have not evolved. So the cost of serving and engaging with someone on those current platforms is too prohibitive to do so. So what we're doing is actually removing those barriers and saying, hey, everyone can have access. We can democratize and create inclusionary access to savings, regardless of who you are, and help guide them through those aspects and do that. And there hasn't been a platform that has been modernized to do so until we came to light.
It's quite interesting because you also experienced this roadblock yourself as an employer.
Yes. The first time as a proprietor of a business in my last company I co-founded, we had to stand up a workplace savings program for our employees, and I was shocked at how cumbersome it was. It was incredibly confusing, and especially for someone who kind of lives in this sphere. And I was like, if this is this hard for me, how hard is it for someone else who has no idea what they should be doing? And so that was actually the impetus for starting this. And it was like, hey, we're gonna go solve this at the core and reshape it. And then we started to expand and look at, well, hey, if retirement functions this way, how does educational savings function? How does healthcare savings function? And how can we actually bring all of those worlds together under one ecosystem and one infrastructure?
So we know what the problem is. Let's talk about solutions, which is where Vestwell comes in. How are you trying to use technology and increase the financial well-being of millions of individuals?
Sure, so it comes down to a lot of moving pieces and a lot of complexity, and that's, I think, where our superpower is solving really complex problems and distilling it in a way that anyone can engage and say, oh, that makes sense, let me go do this. So what we're doing is solving the things on the whole, how we look at it as money in and money out. How does money come in from someone's paycheck? How should they be saving? How do we actually transact that in a way that makes sense for them at a dramatically reduced cost? And then help basically set them up for the future of where they should be going with those money. So, because then that dovetails into financial wellness and education, right? A lot of people know they need to do something, but they don't know how, right? Should I start with healthcare, or I just had a child, and should I start, helping that child, save for college? And that's a lot of what we try to do is shape those conversations for an individual and guide them through those aspects.
I guess in essence, you're increasing awareness, but you're also simplifying the entire process and making it much more accessible. So talk to us about the key milestones that you have actually seen since Vestwell was founded, and how do you actually measure the effectiveness of your company?
Sure, that's a great question. So most people will never hear of Vestwell. The millions of people that are on our platform have no idea it's us, because we actually are working with the institutions, be it financial institutions like a Morgan Stanley or a JP Morgan or something like that, and helping them engage with their clientele early and often and shape those conversations. We also power a lot of state governments and bring those to life. And what we're doing is actually taking the technology and looking at how do we actually collapse all of the friction points in the ecosystem and democratize it, but rather than go, little Vestwell knock on doors of every business and every individual in the country, look at it and say, how do we actually engage a Morgan Stanley or a JP Morgan or the state of Oregon, right, to meet their residents and their employers and get them saving in the proper way. So it's an exciting time. There's been a lot of legislative initiatives that have pushed this forward in a very positive way, and we're happy to help kind of expand that and amplify the message and bring that. So the milestones are, how are people. We look at eligibility. Are you eligible to save? Because not everyone is. And if you are you actually doing it? Are you participating? And how much are you participating over the course of however long you're on the platform, right? And we monitor those aspects and try to get people to say, hey, you just had some milestone in life. Should you, have you thought about saving in this capacity? And that's a lot of what we work on.
What is actually needed for the savings industry to evolve and develop and innovate going forward?
It needs a lot of people willing to evolve and innovate. And a lot of people, there's complacency and there's a lot of bias of what was done is what should be done in the future. And we try to break that mold a lot and ask why and say, well, it was done that way at that time for that reason, right? And specifically, like in retirement, for example, there was the pension era where the businesses, my parents, or my dad worked in an organization and he was there for most of his career, right? And the business was reliant upon providing that pension, but that doesn't exist today. So in today's world, it's dependent on the individual. They have to make those decisions. So how do we reshape where that's going? So you need a lot of people willing to do so. There's a lot of regulation. We deal with incredibly complex regulatory environments that largely we're supportive of, right? Because they're there for a reason to help provide security and shape how the relationships evolve. But people have to be willing to break the mold and say, how do I do this? How do I build a great business doing this? And how do I help people for the future? So that's where we're intensely involved.
So you're right in the middle of all the action. There's a lot of change going on. What is your vision for the future of savings? What would you like to be seeing when we have this conversation, say 10 years from now?
I would love for everyone to be engaged in saving, right? And we all know not everyone can in the means by which they would want to, but just baby stepping that along is very important, because once you do that and once someone realizes, oh, this is in my power as an individual to save, then those barriers start to drop. And that individual says, well, I can do this. And when they're doing that, we're able to help relieve the financial stresses of life, which for most people is a key driver of their stress. And if we can reduce those levels of stress, you can focus on other aspects of life and creating better solutions, better engagement, more innovative everything across the globe. And that's really where we want to see people engage. Like, let's focus our energies on the things that we should be doing, and let's make the things that need to happen very easy and simple and just feel like a natural course of life.
So Aaron, thank you so much for sharing all those thoughts today, and let's hope we see progress in that area. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, I appreciate it.